my name's Julie Orr. I'm an artist based in Los Angeles, and I'm here with the Desire Company to teach you guys a DIY tutorial. All right, guys, let's get started. So we're gonna use some found objects from nature, some sticks, some rocks, craft wire, and then some potted plants like succulents, vases, and some paint and tape to make our DIY centerpiece today. So I want to show you guys a couple different techniques we can use for taping to prep for painting. We can do diagonal lines going this way to create kind of a cool twisted design. Another cool technique is making this kind of geometric design, and it's very easy. You basically take two pieces of tape and you make a triangle. You kind of want to tuck the tape underneath the plant. So we're gonna have one piece going that way and then another piece going the other way. So you make a nice triangle shape. So I'm gonna show you guys two different designs. This one is stripes kind of twirling around the base of the planter, and then this one is geometric designs. So I'm gonna add a little more tape to complete the design. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, my stripes are a little wonky, but sometimes it's more interesting to kind of make it a little, you know, off. All right, so we finished taping the succulents. Now we're gonna get into mixing the paint to paint the succulents. You guys are gonna be so surprised by how easy this is too. So I think it's best to pick just maybe two colors, two or three, to keep it simple. You can do more too. I mean, it depends on kind of the look that you're going for, but to keep things simple today, I'm gonna pick this cool teal metallic blue, and then maybe I'll do some gold as well. So I'm gonna put just kind of a quarter size amount of the paint on the plate, and I'm just using paper plates. I find it easier to actually use paper plates versus a palette because you can dispose of them very easily, where with a palette you have to wash it. It can be a little laborious. When I start painting, I like to dip my brush in the water first. It kind of, to get the brush a little bit wet, actually helps spread the paint a little better. So I'm gonna dip in the brush a little bit. And I'm just using a simple plastic cup, and then we're gonna dab it on the paper towel, just a little bit. And then I'm gonna dip my brush in the acrylic paint. And then we're gonna start painting in between the taped lines. So to paint the pot, I picked a medium-sized brush, because it kind of helps spread the paint a little more evenly versus a smaller brush, which is better more for lines, smaller details. I like to paint in the direction of the tape because it just makes them a little bit easier. Okay, so we got the teal part. I'm gonna put this brush in the water, let it soak for a little bit. Another tip is you don't want to leave your brushes out with paint on them, because if they dry, it's very difficult to get the paint off and it'll actually ruin the brush. So you want to keep your brushes wet while they have paint on them and you're not using them. Okay, we're gonna dip our brush in the paint again. Now I'm gonna do the gold stripes. All right, we're doing our last stripe here. So the gold paint, because it's a lighter color, it's a little more translucent than the darker colors. So I like to do two coats to kind of make it a little more solid. It just gives it kind of a bolder look and gives it a little more contrast when you have it more opaque. Okay, so we have our teal and our gold stripes. Okay, now we have our geometric designs on this mini succulent plant. I'm gonna go for black this time, maybe some black and gold, switch it up. So again, just, you know, this one's smaller, so we can probably put, we don't need much paint, maybe the amount of a dime or nickel. Black acrylic here, and then I'm I'm gonna put some gold. I'm gonna use the same spot that I used before. Okay, so we have our mini succulent taped with this little geometric triangle design. So we're gonna paint now inside the taped shape with the gold paint. And again, we're gonna do 2 coats to kind of make that gold really pop. All right guys, so we finished our painted pot here, and we're gonna take off the tape and reveal the design. So it's still wet actually. Ideally, you probably wanna let it dry, but for the sake of time, we're gonna take the tape off now. Okay, so the next step is we're gonna paint sticks that I found just outside with some acrylic paint, and we're gonna use them for our centerpiece in this pretty vase. Now for these, I kind of picked some muted kind of neutral colors like green, orange, a little teal, cream, and then also gold. And they kind of match the pots that are already painted. So I'm gonna show you how to get those colors on these new sticks. I like to actually prep it with some white paint because it makes the colors just as you would paint a wall. It's nice to kind of put a first coat of white on to make the paint stand out a bit more. So we're gonna put a little white on our palette here. Grab a new brush. Dip the brush in the water, dab it on the paper towel. Now we're gonna put some white paint on the brush and put a layer of white paint on here to kind of prime it. So that stick is painted. Okay, so now that we've done our sticks and our plants, we're gonna start decorating our vase. Now because this is glass is kind of slick. Acrylic paint is not gonna work on this. It would flake off very easily. So we're gonna put the acrylic paint to the side, and we're gonna use these really cool oil-based paint pens. And these work on glass, plastic, marble, any kind of slick surface. So I use kind of these muted natural tones for the sticks and for the plants. So I'm gonna kind of continue with that color scheme, and I think I might use some gold, maybe some turquoise, and some copper. Now before you use these paint pens, you actually want to shake them. I'm going to do all of them together. Shake them, kind of mix up the paint. So I think I'm just gonna do, take my paint pen and just do like a bunch of lines going up and down the vase. I'll take this blue and we're gonna just make some skinnier stripes in between our thicker copper stripes. Some blue stripes. And then the copper, I'm doing it at the opposite order this time. So here's the finished vase. It took me, I don't know, maybe a minute or so. It's kind of cool how you can twist it and see the design from different angles. I just used 2 colors, did stripes. You can do other designs. You could even start with a pattern on the bottom and kind of work your way up with different patterns like stripes, polka dots, festive if you wanted to. I went for a simpler look, but there's so many different ways you can paint this. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys a really easy way to make napkin rings. So I found these rocks outside, and actually you could use sticks too. So we're basically gonna take a few elements from nature and paint them, and then we're gonna wrap some wire around it and make a really cool napkin ring. Now in doing this, recently I discovered, I picked some bigger rocks. You wanna pick actually relatively small ones because if they're too way down, your napkin ring is gonna be heavy. And we don't want that because it could also bend the wire or somebody could drop it on their toe. So I suggest smaller rocks and, sticks like this. So I'm gonna put a little gold acrylic paint on my plate. take a brush, a wet brush, dip it in the acrylic paint, and then we're gonna paint our rock. Pretty easy. It's like kindergarten. Okay, so we painted our rock gold. It's wet right now. I would take your wet items and actually to put them in the sun. I'm in California right now, it's really hot outside, so acrylic paint dries very fast in the heat. So a little tip is to put something in the sun and we'll expedite the drying time by a lot. Here are some finished ones. Just simple gold rocks. And I'm gonna show you guys how to wrap some wire around these and turn them into napkin rings. I have this cool aluminum gold craft wire, which it's nice because it's firm and it has you know, a little bit of stiffness to it, but it's also soft enough that it can be sculpted into different shapes. So I suggest cutting a piece about 3 feet long. I'm guessing this is about 3 feet long. We're gonna take our wire cutters and cut the end. You wanna find actually the center point of the wire. And I'm gonna actually put the wire down and then the rock on top. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna twist either side of the wire around the rock. And we're gonna twist it a few times. You gotta be careful not to poke yourself, as you can see. Okay, so I've wrapped the wire around the rock, and then now I'm gonna take the two ends and I'm gonna twist them into the napkin ring shape. We're gonna do one end at a time. So we're gonna take the wire and wrap that end around. And then I'm gonna take the second end and wrap it in the opposite direction. And then we're gonna pull it off the paint tube. Ta-da! How cool is this? Okay guys, so our little stick has dried. So we're gonna put some gold over our primed stick. There's a lot of different options. So you could paint each stick one color, or you could take a couple different colors and paint half dark, half light. You could paint, you know, there's so many different options. Designs on top. I'm gonna add a little black to the end of this just to show you another option. All right, so we have our little black and gold stick. So cute. Imagine if you have a bunch of these kind of with some black at the bottom, some black at the top, maybe adding some weight to it and putting them in a vase. It'd be a really cool look. I'm gonna set this aside to dry. Okay, so we finished painting our succulent plant pots, the napkin ring, the sticks, our vase, and now we're gonna see it all come together and come to life on our table with a really cool centerpiece and a table setting. So guys, that is our DIY centerpiece table setting lesson. I can't wait to see how your tables turn out.